are you ready for the top 5 movies of 2011?
Yeah, this was like a really, really strange year. This is like the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, already saying 2011 feels like such a weird thing to say, like a year that shouldn't exist in the future.
9 out of 10 of the top grossing movies
Hmm.
were all series,
That makes sense.
including two cartoons.
Of course. Yeah.
And two more were added that are going to make
Hmm.
now a series of three.
And why do I think you're going to have at least half of your choices as sequels on this year? I know one of them already. So yeah, my list is kind of interesting too. It's a little all over the map. So I'll start. I think you started last time. I'll start.
Okay, good.
My number 5 is a comedy, of course. And don't worry, Will Ferrell is not in this, but it's in that vein, and it is Bridesmaids. Have you seen Bridesmaids?
Possibly.
It stars Kristen Wiig from Saturday Night Live, Maya Rudolph. They're the two main characters. Melissa McCarthy. This is like a pretty much all female comedy that it has a lot of heart to it as well, because
Yeah, I think some of the nightmares coming back. As soon as you said Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, she goes like over the top in this movie, kind of playing the Zach Galifianakis kind of character. That's
She's
just
a little
insane.
over the top in most of her movies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, some she's laid back, but yeah, this Kristen Wiig plays the main character who's best friends with Maya Rudolph, who's getting married, and Kristen Wiig's life is kind of falling apart, and Maya Rudolph is making new friends. So that's the whole thing. It's a friendship movie, like a buddy comedy for females, and it's got some great. Some of it,
That's why
like,
you like it.
yeah, I guess. But some of it, like, there's some gross out humor that I wasn't a fan of, but then the the relationship between the two main characters is really good. And there's like this hilarious freak out scene by Kristen Wiig where she destroys a chocolate fountain and stuff at the wedding shower party. And yeah, I love Kristen Wiig. That's probably part of it. But anyway, that's my number 5. So, what is yours?
And as you've already guessed,
Yes.
Twilight Saga, Breaking Bad.
Wait, did you say Breaking Bad?
No, Breaking Dawn. Yeah, I did say Breaking Bad. Freudian slip.
Yes.
Breaking Dawn.
I think Breaking Bad did
Part
come
one.
out around this time too. Breaking Dawn. Okay.
Right.
Part
Yes.
1, you said?
Part one, yes.
All right.
So there's only one more left. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the yay.
Mhm. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yes.
It made $712 million.
Yeah. Okay.
So people, and it's based on a book. So
Yes. I guess a lot of fans were really on board by this point.
yes, yeah. So now they get married and they're celebrating their honeymoon,
Okay.
and she gets pregnant.
Right.
So now the whole thing is, well, what's the baby going to be?
Oh, right. Because there's the love triangle at this point, right?
Yes, right. Obviously, he's a vampire, and he was able to impregnate her. So,
Yes, yes.
so this is the big mystery.
So are you team Edward or team what's the other guy? The wolf guy.
Yeah, he's involved in this one too.
That was the whole question of like all
It's
the fans were like, I'm team Edward.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've also read the books before I saw the movies.
Okay. But yeah, you're
So
you're
that's another reason why I was a big fan of the movies.
right.
So I'll just leave it there. So there's all this controversy, plus the head vampires in uh, Italy are
Hmm.
getting a little nervous on uh, this news also.
Right,
It
right.
leads to the big culmination in the next episode.
Right. There's like a big climactic fight,
Yeah.
basically.
So the
Yeah.
wolves aren't happy in this uh, episode either because they figure that, well, now they're creating some sort of demon that is going to infringe on their Native American
Hmm.
rights for
Uh-huh.
their, property and stuff.
I'm surprised that there hasn't been a spin-off at this point with the baby or whatever. Uh, you know, I guess no one or the lady didn't
Ah,
write a book about it yet, or did she? I
I,
don't know.
now, see, you put it out there now. Now it could happen.
One of our 13 followers is going to make a movie about it.
Now, yeah, they will. They'll make a spoof on
Yeah, they should. All right. Well, good pick. So my number four is a movie you've probably never heard of because I hadn't when I saw it years after 2011. It's The Music Never Stopped. And this is a movie that I think you would really like, actually. It's kind of at its heart a father and son movie.
it.
And
Oh, we missed that one for
yeah,
Father Sunset.
well, I thought about it actually, but it didn't quite make my list. But J.K. Simmons plays the dad, and I think it's based on a true story, but it's not, but it's fictionalized about the son who's in his 30s. Um, the movie takes place in the 80s, but it flashes back to the 60s. I guess at some point in the late 60s, this teenager gets a brain tumor and has this condition where he can't make any new memories. So he's literally stuck in the 60s and he's really into 60s music. So the only thing that gets him like out of this somewhat catatonic state is somebody putting on like Beatles or Bob Dylan music. So you can see why I was attracted to the movie right away. Uh,
Yes, definitely.
so there's a lot of great music in it, but it's about this, this father trying to relate to his son through music and kind of connect with him, and they form a bond and try to create new memories through music as well. So but yeah, it's a really heartwarming movie. I highly recommend it.
Cool.
So there you go. So what's your number four?
My number four was an interesting movie to me because, and the way they did it, but it asked the theological question
Mhm.
whether we really have free will or not.
Okay. I'm not sure what the movie is.
The Adjustment Bureau.
I never saw that.
You never saw this.
No. Who's in this?
Matt Damon and Emily Blunt.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember hearing about this movie. Who directed it? Do you know?
George Nolfi.
Okay. I thought it was one where like Damon directed or something, but no, okay. I know
No,
what it is now.
yeah. So it you know God now is the chairman, and he's got these little angels running around that are controlling things,
Uh-huh.
basically, or they're following the plan. They're making sure that the chairman's plan is being carried out.
Okay.
Uh, Matt Damon is a politician who's running for office,
Mm.
and he meets Emily Blunt in the men's bathroom. I think it was in the Waldorf Astoria. It was one of those big hotel things. And they
Okay.
immediately fall in love.
Yeah.
But according to the master plan, they're not supposed to do that.
Mm.
So now the little chairman's people are running around blocking him from meeting her again.
Yeah. Interesting.
And
Okay.
that's where the free will comes in,
Yeah.
because he like is opposing the chairman's plan because he wants to marry her and be with her the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in God's plan or the chairman's plan.
Interesting. It sounds a little bit like the Truman Show,
Yeah,
where
but it was weird like how they did it with the hats, because
Mhm.
all the angels wore hats. And they
Okay.
had to turn the doorknob to the right, and then they would go to another place, not
Mhm.
where directly connected, where the door would normally go.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
if they turned the door to the left, then they're back where the chairman is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it was all these like not metaphors, but whatever you call it, that
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
it was
That's
very
cool.
interesting movie from that standpoint of view.
Cool. I'll have to check that out. I never seen it. But okay. So my number 3 um is not exactly a cheat, but it's a documentary. And it's a music documentary about one of my favorite bands of all time. Pearl Jam 20 is the name of it. And it's directed by Cameron Crowe, who's made lots of great movies like Almost Famous and Singles and Say Anything. And all of his movies are usually music related. Well, this one is full blown documentary about Pearl Jam, who had their 20-year anniversary in that year. They started in 1991 with one of the greatest debut albums of all time, 10. And so this just follows their story, and which their story is really interesting too when you look into it, where this band, I believe it was Green River, their singer dies, and then they want to still do some stuff, and they send a cassette tape out to this guy and across the country, Eddie Vedder, and he puts some lyrics to it on a cassette tape and sends it back, and they love it, and then they form this band like almost overnight, and that's what leads to one of the greatest and most successful rock bands in music history. So there you go.
Well,
And it's a really well made music documentary, like from someone who really loves music and that band, you can tell. So yeah. So what's your number 3?
Captain America, the first Avenger.
Uh-huh. I was thinking you'd have one of these.
Yeah, I think this was like the better of the two. Actually, right now there is so many comic book hero movies
Yeah.
out at this point. I mean, even what's the other comic book? DC
Yeah.
had Green Lantern this year,
Right.
which really didn't do that good in the movies. And there was 2 Marvel ones this year. The
Thor
other
was the
one
other one,
being
right?
Thor.
Yeah.
But Captain America I liked because it's doing the backstory
Yeah.
of who Captain America was, how it started out. And he's like this little runt. He must weigh like 95 pounds dripping wet.
Yeah.
So yeah, they use that. I guess they used the same process of shrinking people and making them smaller, like they, what they did in the Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
So they were doing that with him. So like next to regular people, he was like looked almost diminutive. But this is during World War II. He wanted to do his part. So he went to 5 different draft boards already, and they all made him 4F because he had asthma. Besides the thing, the wind could blow him away.
Yeah, right.
So there was a secret German program during the war where they were trying to make super soldiers.
Right.
And since he couldn't get into the war any other way, he volunteered to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he didn't know that this German already did this in Germany and made a super soldier.
Right.
But it didn't go all that well.
Yes.
But apparently on Captain Rogers, it worked. He became Captain America, Captain Rogers, and then it goes on from there.
Right. And it is pretty close to the comic, right? That how the whole character.
I mean, I was never a big Marvel comic reader, so I think that's why the Avengers are like more appealing to me because I read mostly DC, comics, Superman, Batman stuff. So this is like all stuff that I didn't know, in another like universe type thing.
Right. Yeah.
So, so I was intrigued, and that's how I got interested in like this whole Avengers series that's going to be coming up.
Yeah, yeah, and that obviously they casted it really well. I forget the actor's name that plays him, Chris
Evans.
Chris Evans, yeah.
Yeah, and Tommy Lee Jones had a lead in it also. He was like his commanding officer and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But there was a romance part in this. There, it had comedy elements in the thing too. Plus, it felt bad for Rogers because the army didn't want him.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good story. I just never. I guess unlike you, I was not intrigued by the story because I was never really that into comics anyway, but I was always more into the like the dark characters like Batman instead of Captain America seemed to, I don't know, like he had not much of an identity, but this movie obviously shows that he did. So
yeah.
So okay, good pick. I have a feeling you're gonna have one other comic book related movie coming. I can almost pick your 1 and 2, but my 2 is another comedy, of course, and it is Horrible Bosses with Jason Bateman, Jason Sudeikis, and Charlie Day, who end up a really good comedy trio who all hate their bosses and their jobs. And their bosses are also really well cast. Kevin Spacey, who else? Jennifer Aniston, who is especially great as this sex crazed dentist that is always coming on to Charlie Day and pretty much anyone else who comes in her path. And then who's the guy, the Irish actor who plays the other one? I can't remember his name now. He's great because he plays like this coke addicted young guy who's taking over a company. Oh, Colin Farrell. He's actually hilarious in this as well. Have you seen this movie, by the way?
No.
Oh man, you'd like this one. They all conspire to have their bosses killed by this guy. Jamie Foxx plays this guy that they consult with as their like murderer consultant. It's a ridiculous movie, but it's really great. And I one that I've seen multiple times, and that's why I have it this high. But yeah, it's good. Kevin Spacey in like one of his last great roles before he, was canceled or whatever they say these days. So and he plays a jerk, which is perfect for him. So what's your number two?
My number two is a movie that we've talked about before,
Mm-hmm.
Moneyball.
Ah, okay. I was wondering if this would make it or not. This is my honorable mention.
Okay.
Good pick.
Yeah. Brad Pitt plays Billy Bean,
Mm-hmm.
former baseball player, now general manager of the Oakland Athletics. And this takes place in the year 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And the Athletics have a very small payroll margin.
Yeah.
So Billy Bean hires Peter Brandt, who's played by Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Jonah was great in this. Yeah.
Yeah, he was good. And he's like a mathematician.
Mm-hmm.
And Pitt is intrigued by him, like he saw him, and then he decided to hire him.
Right.
And then they started looking at all the baseball players. And then they had this big meeting of, at the Oakland A's. And they're like trying to figure out like who they can draft or hire to like fill in and stuff like that. And so Billy Bean is going, I want this guy. And they go, he's not even playing.
Right.
He was injured. And
Yeah.
then they go, what do you want him for? And then, he points to, the account,
And the line is because he gets on base.
He goes, because he gets on base.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it went through this whole thing. And then so the manager, the field manager, didn't want to field any of these players.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is great in that role too.
Yeah. So so he's keeping his guys, and of course the A's are like down in the cellar there. They ain't winning anything.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great story. He turns it around, and it changes the whole game, really.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So
I mean, one of the biggest baseball comebacks in all of history.
Right. And it did make our final top 5 baseball movies list, which I had on that one as well. So yeah, I thought about putting it, but I left it as my honorable mention. So my number one, you can probably guess what it is if you did some research.
I didn't have to do any research.
Yeah. It's Midnight in Paris.
Yes, Midnight in Paris.
Yep. Directed by Woody Allen.
Of 2011.
Yes. Well, it's not just because it's directed by Woody Allen. I think it's one of his best movies ever. And he does not star in it. It has Owen Wilson plays the main role. Rachel McAdams plays his fiance, and they are visiting Paris. And in the middle of the night, he goes and he's walking around, and he all of a sudden goes back in time. There's time travel. I think this was on our time travel episode as well. We talked about
I think you said it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Somehow it got in. Woody Allen movies, time travel movies,
Yeah.
2011 movies,
Hey.
the the second half of 2000 movies.
Well, anyway, it's great because he goes back into the 1920s in Paris. So he meets all kinds of interesting people in the literary field, Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and all these people are really well cast and perfectly played. And then he meets this girl played by Marianne Cotillard, who is she's great in this too. And it's just a really charming and kind of romantic movie that has a lot of humor and very whimsical. And then he has a choice to make at the end of the movie. But yeah, I love it, and I've seen it like a million times. So that's my number one. And I'm gonna say your number one is either a Harry Potter movie or the Avengers, one of the two. I'm not sure which.
Well, the Avengers didn't come out yet.
Ah, okay. So then it must be Harry Potter.
Process of elimination. The last Harry Potter movie. So far, I just read that Emma Watson is into making a sequel.
Oh God, help us all. So it's Harry Potter and the
Deathly Hallows
Part 2.
Yes.
So you've got a Part 1 and a Part 2 on your list here.
Well, I had Part 1 last one, yes. So the usual cast, but I will extend it so that you can actually hear all the major stars that have been in this movie, because I didn't want to bore people, every week with this. Of course, Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter, and Rupert Grint, who plays the three main characters. But you got Helena Bonham Carter, Ralph Fiennes, John Hurt, Gary Oldman, Alan Rickman, Warwick Davis, Maggie Smith. I'll stop there.
Okay.
I think that's enough.
I agree.
Alan Rickman plays an important part in this movie also. So where we left off last time, Harry Potter, the headmaster is dead. Alan Rickman is now the headmaster.
Okay.
Of the school. Potter is still out looking for Horcruxes, which are magic things that Voldemort is using to keep his dark magic that's keeping him alive. So Harry's trying to find the rest of them to weaken him. So before the big battle, hopefully he would be weak enough that he would be killed.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes. So this is like a big wizard battle.
Okay.
Death and destruction.
The big finale.
The big finale, yes.
All right. Well,
winner take all.
So because it's the big finale and I've looked into it, it has a higher score than Midnight in Paris. I guess it's our freaking number one.
Does it really?
Yeah, it has a 3.9.
Yeah, what is I figured Paris had like a 4 point something.
3.7, unfortunately.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you got
that doesn't even beat Moneyball.
I know. So so it looks like, all right, you're taking number one. Midnight in Paris is number two. Then between Moneyball and Horrible Bosses, Moneyball takes it on that one as well. So Moneyball at 3, Horrible Bosses at 4, and then we have none in common this year, by the way. So between our number 3s, Pearl Jam 20 wins out with a 3.9 over Captain America with only a 3.3. So there you have it. So what's your honorable mention?
My honorable mention and I recommend that everybody see this movie,
Uh-huh.
is Contagion.
Ah, yes, I have not seen this movie, but
Yeah,
I feel as though I've lived it though.
everybody everybody should see this movie because everybody will then see how this virus that we have now
Hmm.
actually spread.
Yeah.
It's a very scientific film, and actually, uh,
They get a lot of it right as far as like
no,
how.
the the coronavirus got it right as to the movie.
Yeah, right. I see. So they predicted quite a few things in that movie.
Yes, it's almost the exact same scenario, and there's a lot of actors in there too: Matt Damon, Judd
Hmm.
Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Winslet, Bryan Cranston,
Hmm.
Jennifer Ella. Uh, that's
Yeah.
enough.
So
But yeah,
does it have a happy ending? That's what I'd like to know. Or does Contagion wipe us out in the movie?
not the whole human race.
Okay.
They do they do try to make
Yeah, vaccination. Did
vaccination for it. Yes.
Okay.
So, but everybody should see this.
Does Bryan Cranston survive? That's all I want to know.
A lot of people did not survive.
Damn it. Okay. Well, yeah, good honorable mention there. So, okay.
So should we do the also things?
Sure. Yeah, you have some others to mention.
Well, yeah, these
All right.
these are the other movies
Mm-hmm.
that the top grossers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Transformers was number 2 with
Wow.
$1.1 billion. By the way, Harry Potter grossed $1.3 billion
Wow. Okay.
that year. Yeah. Uh, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, $1 billion.
Crazy. None of
Yeah,
these movies got my money, by the
it
way.
is. It is definitely crazy because, I mean, first of all, it didn't have the other two stars, Orlando Bloom and what's her name?
Uh-huh.
Her name escapes me for the time being, but so it didn't have them. So yeah, and it had mostly like the same stuff that was in the first three movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy, man.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this one they were looking for the Fountain of Youth, but anyway,
Yeah.
Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol was next at 694 million. The Fast Five, another
Mm-hmm.
series,
Yeah.
626 million. Hangover Part Two, which I'm surprised you didn't have.
Yeah, it wasn't
Uh,
anywhere near as good
yeah,
as
I
the
know.
original.
586 million.
Mm-hmm.
The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo will not. Well, yes, this is part one of the beginning of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes, another series that's beginning.
Yep.
Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows, which ended that series. The Artist, which the Academy Awards loved.
Mm-hmm. The only one that's not a sequel, I think. There.
Yeah. Now, well, Midnight in Paris also was not a sequel,
Did that
unless
gross
you
a lot?
count Woody Allen as a sequel.
That's probably his one of his highest grossing movies, then I would guess.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
a movie that I'm surprised you didn't find, Drive.
Oh yeah. No, I never saw Drive.
Yeah, it had a 4.0 rating with let's call it Bryan Cranston was in it.
Yeah, and Ryan Gosling, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
somehow that slipped by me.
it was like a bloody movie, but
Yeah. It looked
yeah,
it looked weird, but
yeah, it was weird. It was called Driver because uh, it was he, the kid was doing stunt driving in the in the movie business. Plus, he was also car repair, working with Cranston, who owned the repair shop.
right.
And then they were going to go into stock car racing.
Mm-hmm.
In the
Okay.
meantime, he falls in love with this girl whose husband's in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And when the husband gets out, the kid helps him with a robbery. And then everything just goes downhill from there.
Oh, of course. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, very good list there. And now I will read off the final top five best movies of 2011 according to 3 and 4. At number 5, Pearl Jam 20. At number 4, Horrible Bosses. At number 3, Moneyball. At number 2, Midnight in Paris. And at number 1, reluctantly, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God it's over. And now the Avengers will take over from here for 3 going
Possibly.
forward.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is now it's all, that's what I said in the beginning of the end, because now it's just like one series after another series after another series after another series.
Which is why you'll find most of my list going forward will be most of these like diamond in the rough movies that you've never heard of that are not sequels.
Yeah, but I mean, Midnight in Paris wasn't, diamond
Yeah.
in the rough. Maybe the two comedies were a diamond in the rough.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we both go from here. But
I mean, you could say The Artist was a diamond in the rough, but I think it did horrible in the movies. This was a silent movie where they didn't talk throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I didn't see it, even though I do now that I've seen some like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin movies that I really love. Maybe I would enjoy it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I've seen those too.
Mm-hmm.
But the only other movie that I saw where they only said one sentence in the movie.
Yeah.
That was Silent Movie.
Oh, okay. Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they can be difficult to sit through silent movies.
Yeah, I know, but this is modern times. It's different when you're talking about Buster Keaton, and that era back then.
Yeah, because you had to have this high level of talent to pull it off back then.
Well, that's why they got big names in. That doesn't mean the movie was that great.
Right. Yeah.
They had the actors.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, very good. Well, we'll see you on the next one, 2012 coming up. So like, subscribe, all that stuff. And we'll see you then. Love you.
Love you too.
All right. Bye.